Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Posture Project, the Posture Show, the Posture Hour. I don't really know. Obviously, the title is still a work in progress, but if you like any of those I just mentioned, or you have any suggestions of your own, please leave them in the comments section below. I would love to hear them. I'd really appreciate it because it would save me a lot of time. But I digress. Anyways, for any of you that don't know me, my name is Justin Archer, aka the Posture Guy, your number one source on pain, posture, and performance. And today I want to talk to you about what shoes are best for your posture and that can help relieve your symptom or symptoms. But before we get into that, I want to talk about what shoes are worse. I don't know if that's the correct term. We'll go with it. Worse or bad for your posture, and those that could actually increase your symptoms. Okay? So, wait for it. Now let that just sink in, okay? Yeah, this is what about 80 to 90% of people have in their closet, okay? Now, I'm not saying you have to go throw out all your shoes and buy all new shoes by any means. There is a time and a place for a shoe like this. I just recommend that it not be your main shoe that you wear the majority of the time, okay? And for a couple reasons. Number one is the human foot was, the way we were born, it's designed perfectly, okay? It's a perfectly engineered. The problem that we get ourselves into is as we grow up from infants and our for generations now, parents have been putting shoes on their kids' feet, and then of course they continue to wear them as they get older and older, is that it kills a lot of the muscles and the proprioceptors, kind of like I guess you can call it kind of the feedback that your foot gets from the ground, okay? Because ideally, if you're barefoot, you can really feel what's going on the ground, and how your foot, your ankle, your shin, your knee, everything above it has to adjust accordingly. That's what proprioceptors do in the foot. And there's tons of studies out there about how fast the muscles of the foot twitch to if there's a 1.5 degree tilt in the ground, and then if there's this pebble over here, your body will take it in, and from toe to head or head to toe, it'll adjust everything in your body accordingly. Okay, that's assuming you're barefoot. But if you encase your foot in a hard rubber, plastic, wooden, leather, whatever your shoes happen to be made out of, encasing, then your foot has a lot harder time using those proprioceptors and getting that feedback from the ground. And you look at like a shoe like this is a normal New Balance, just I guess you can call it a running or a cross trainer shoe. There's my thumb on the inside. That's all cushion that your proprioceptors have to kind of feel through there. It's trying to listen to a conversation with a cup pressed up against the wall. It kind of works, but it's nowhere near the best quality, okay? The other thing too is look at a child's foot before they begin wearing shoes and notice how wide their toes are spread. Or look at tribes people who are amazing endurance runners. I mean, they chase down barefoot like antelopes and things. So they're running all day and they're barefoot and their feet are like another pair of hands. Okay? That's because they don't have anything tapering their toes to a point like these shoes. So we wear these day in and day out, and then we wonder, well, why is my little toe starting to cross over to my other, I guess you would call ring toe? Or why do I have bunions, hammer toe, turf toe, and all these other things? It's because every time you put your foot in a shoe like this, you're asking it to do that. And it's going to start taking shape of that mold, okay? A lot of times when people talk about uncomfortable shoes, what's the first thing that comes to mind, whether you're a man or woman, is heels, right? Very uncomfortable. Well, regardless if you're a man or a woman, if you're wearing a regular tennis shoe, a dress shoe, things like that, I guarantee you that the heel is higher than the toes. So men, yes, even you may not know it, but you're wearing heels. It doesn't necessarily have to be a stiletto to still be considered a heel. Ideally, for your foot to work at its optimal, peak level, your heel and your toes, the balls of your feet, should be on the ground evenly. Not this, big difference. And also you look at this one, this is not all shoes have this, but not uncommon. Look at how the toes come up. How are your toes supposed to feel to the ground? unless you got someone maybe doing that to you all day, okay? And I understand why shoes like this happen. People start complaining, they need arch support or a heel cup, more stability because they overpronate and oversupinate. But that led to, I think, wearing too much shoe. And the problem with wearing too much shoe is these shoes are so amazingly engineered nowadays that the foot doesn't need to do anything anymore. So the foot's in there, it goes, wow, this is an amazing shoe. It does everything that I would usually be held responsible to do. So you know what? I'm taking the day off. But then they take a week off, and a month off, and a year off. And little by little, your foot muscles and your ankle muscles and your whole lower leg starts to atrophy and become weaker and weaker. And then it actually becomes more prone to injuries and or chronic symptoms like plantar fasciitis, and I already mentioned bunions and hammer toes and all kinds of things like that, Achilles pain. So that's why these, again, I wouldn't recommend wearing the majority of the time. There's a time and place for them, and we'll get back to that, okay? So if you're not wearing this, which makes up probably about 80 to 90% of the shoes on the market right now, what the hell do you wear, all right? Now, unless you've been living under a rock somewhere for the last few years, you've probably noticed this trend towards minimalistic footwear, and the most predominant being the Vibram 5 fingers, aka the toe shoes, right? Probably the first time you saw someone walk by them, you kind of did a double take and went, what the hell is that on their feet? Well, the ideal behind minimalistic footwear, kind of speaks for itself, is the minimalism. There's nothing to them. There's a little bit, I think it's about 3 millimeters of material between the bottom of your foot and the ground. So a lot less than this. I mean, if you just look at the profiles of them, here, those proprioceptors in your foot could actually work. It can actually sense what's going on the ground. So your ankles and your knees and your hips and your spine and everything could adjust accordingly and be healthier. The other thing, Grand Central Station, the other thing is that look at the toe box. Here you got the tapering. Here you've got the toes are wider than the heel, just like a baby or, like I said, those tribes people that hunt down gazelles on foot. But a lot of times, because I've been wearing these for years, a lot of times a question I get asked is, well, Justin, what supports your arch? I say, my arch supports my arch. That's what the muscles of your arch are supposed to do. But when you put them in something like this, again, they get lazy, and then you have flat feet. This actually works them out, like basically going to the gym. So there's a lot of benefits to the toe shoes. At the same time, you do have to work into them. You can't go overnight from this to this. It'd be like if you hadn't worked out ever or for a very long time and someone put a gun to your head and said, do 200 push-ups. Now you would do them, obviously to live, but the next day, 2 days, 3 days, you would be hurting, right? I mean, your chest would be so inflamed, you could barely move, you'd just be like, oh, don't touch me. That's what happens if you try to go from one to the other overnight. So I want to map out for you how to do it and do it right, because believe me, I've made mistakes, I've seen other people make mistakes, so I want to help you avoid those, okay? So this is ultimately where we want to get to. So probably the best way, I think the company that's done it the best is Nike. And I'm not getting paid to say this, I don't own any stock in Nike or anything, but I have owned some of their shoes. And although some minimalistic footwear runners and things like that may not necessarily agree that the Frees are a minimalistic type of shoe, I think it's good training to work towards one. And they have what's called their Nike Free line. You can Google it. And they start from 7 and they go down to 3, I believe. I don't think there's a 2. So it goes 7.0, 5.0, and 3.0. And what those numbers mean is the cushion between your foot and the ground. So you can start at a 7, which has a lot more mobility than this. They twist, it's a lot more free moving. And then as those wear out, graduate to a 5.0 and then a 3.0. I haven't had Nike Frees for a while now. What I have instead are these New Balance. This is the Minimus line. I believe this model is the MT10BK. Love New Balance, but man, their names of their products are confusing. So this, you can see, very minimalistic. It sits really flat on the table here. Make sure you guys can see that. There's a small heel drop, so it's not what's called zero drop, which means on this one, heel to toe, there's zero drop. It's 180 degrees flat. Here, it's 4 millimeters, but still, it's pretty imperceivable. You can't really tell, but there is a little bit more cushion. But I mean, it's very flexible. It bends and everything. Very little or no arch support, so it still lets your foot be a foot. Lets it work out. There are enclosed toes, but notice the difference between that toe box, sorry, covering my face, and that toe box. Look how pointy this one is. Look how broad and wide this one is. It actually allows your toes to spread. Okay, so that's what you want to look for if you're going to get a enclosed toed shoe. Okay, but after you wear those for a while, you actually start getting into the toe shoes. Now, there's a lot of companies that make them. I've worn a lot of them, and my favorite, they're the most well-known, is Vibram. Vibram has made soles for generations now. They make them for armed forces, police, armed forces, firefighters, etc., etc. They make soles for rock climbing shoes, very high quality. But this is the first shoe, if you do want to call it a shoe, that they ever manufactured, and it's great. And it's funny because for as little material as there is there, these things are durable. The first pair I ever had outlasted, I think, 3 or 4 pairs of Nike Frees. So, if ever you're online looking for them, I'll put some links down below, and you go, these are kind of pricey, you get what you pay for. There may be an upfront cost premium to them, but trust me, you save money by going with these. And take it from someone who just thrashes his shoes. I'm not just running going forward. I do cross training. I play table tennis. I go rock climbing in them. So I ask a lot of my shoes. These ones, obviously, they're very clean. They're fairly new. And if you're not into the bright, greens and yellows and everything, that's fine. You don't have to be. They do actually make, here's one. It's just black. It's a leather topping. You can also get it in a synthetic, more breathable material. Very, kind of classy. Actually, believe it or not, they were newer back then, but I got married in these. My wife not only allowed me to, but insisted, which is one of the many, many reasons that I love her. So, sweetie, this goes out to you. So they have leather ones. They even have boot styles. So you can be as discreet as you want. You can be, this is by no means the flashiest. It's just the brightest one I have. You can also be very flashy, and if you want them just for working out. So there's all kinds of models. You can head over to Vibram 5 Fingers to check those out. If you want to look at other minimalistic footwear, go to birthdayshoes.com. I'll put a link down below. The owner of the site, Justin Owens, yes, us Justins, we like to stick together, does a really good job at doing reviews of a lot of minimalistic footwear. And there's a lot more out there than you would think. There's a lot more out there than I ever thought. I thought it was basically toe shoes, and that was it. There's a lot more out there, okay? So check them out. Another question I get asked is, well, but I wear sandals, what about sandals? Now, granted, it is zero drop. I mean, it's 180 degrees, so that's good. It does allow your toes to spread. That's good. The only problem is, you ever try to run in sandals? Not ones with a back, like a heel strap, but you have to grip so it doesn't fly off your foot. Otherwise, you'll go maybe max 5-6 steps, and it flings off your foot, and now you're barefoot, right? So flip-flops, I would stay away from. But if you have sandals, and they actually do make running sandals that have a heel strap, by all means, go with them. There's actually some of them on birthdayshoes.com, okay? Also, something I did before I even had the toe shoes is I got toe socks. I don't know if you can see that there. There's some black ones, and there's some white ones. They're by a company called Injinji. You go to injinji.com. I think there's some links to them too on Birthday Shoes. And these are really cool. Obviously, if you're going to wear socks, I usually just go barefoot in these. But if you are going to wear socks, you need toe socks. You cannot wear regular socks because they just don't fit in the little pockets. But these are also great because you can wear them in a shoe like this. You can even wear them in dress shoes, and they help start to spread the toes. A lot of people ask, does it feel weird or anything? Really, the first time I wore it, I noticed it for the first 5 minutes, and then I forgot about them, and I went for a walk, and I got back, and literally just wearing the socks felt like my foot, the arch was bigger, stronger. My calves felt like they got a good workout, more than normal if I were just to walk around without them. So definitely check those out, the Injinji socks. Last, but certainly not least, is, these are all great tools to help improve your posture, to strengthen your foot, but it's also about the foot that goes into the shoe, okay? So just because you put these on doesn't mean your foot pain or knee pain or hip or back or whatever pain you have is going to magically go away. As a matter of fact, again, if you go from this to this overnight, you will hurt and you can do some damage. So just like working out, you got to build up little by little. You can't just go and bench press 500 pounds. You got to work up to it. You got to work up to something like this. So I gave you the shoes, how you can do that, how you can work up to them. But I want to do you one better, and that is down below I provided links to, I believe it's 4 or 5, I think it's 4 exercises that will actually help strengthen your foot, your ankle, your whole lower leg, and really help connect the kinetic chain, the linkage of muscles and connective tissue and joints between your hip, your knee, and your ankle. Because when those are connected, then your hip, your knee, your ankle can travel in one straight line, as well as the muscles all the way up in the hip dictate a lot of your arch, if you do and how much you pronate and supinate. So those will help as well, okay? So do those exercises. Check out some of these shoes. Make sure to check out birthdayshoes.com. And if you have any questions or comments or anything, please leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right? Anyways, thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you inside my other videos. Until then, take care and keep moving.